What if you discover a secret that will keep you young forever? Would you take it? Let's find out in Nandi's story. In the village of Nzanzi, everyone knew Nandi. She looked as young as a 30-year-old woman. But guess what? Nandi is actually 80 years old. Nandi's skin was smooth and glowing. Her eyes were bright and lively. Her beauty was undeniable, and she moved with grace of someone much younger. She even looked more beautiful than people that were actually 30. Everyone that was born the year Nandi was given birth to are all old, but Nandi still remained young and beautiful. Do you know the secret to Nandi's ever-young body? Let's find out how it went. The villagers often whispered among themselves, wondering how Nandi managed to stay so young. Every time Nandi walked through the market, heads turned and conversations hushed. Mothers admired her, fathers were curious, and even young girls were in awe of how young and beautiful she looked. Many theories floated around the village about Nandi's youthful appearance. Some believed she had a secret potion. Maybe she drinks a special herb tea every morning, one woman speculated. Others thought it was her diet. She must be eating magical fruits, another woman suggested. Some villagers also believed that Nandi's garden held the key to her secrets. They thought she grew special herbs and vegetables that kept her young. But what kind of herbs and vegetables can actually keep an 80-year-old woman looking as young as 30? So, the villagers continued to wonder and speculate, keeping their distance and their questions to themselves. Among all the villagers was a young handsome man called Tabo, a curious one at that. Tabo was determined to uncover Nandi's secrets. He watched her closely, trying to find clues that might reveal the mystery of her ageless beauty. He said to himself, how can an 80-year-old woman look 30 and even much more beautiful and younger than an actual 30-year-old woman in my village? There must be a secret to Nandi's beauty, and I must find out. One day, Tabo decided he could no longer keep his curiosity at bay. He resolved to finding out the truth about Nandi, no matter what it took. And so, he began his journey to uncover the secrets that kept Nandi young and beautiful. Tabo shared his plan with his best friend Sifo. They decided to follow Nandi and uncover her secrets. Together, they watched her every move, trying to find out what kept her young. One night, Tabo and Sifo decided to follow Nandi secretly. They waited until the village was asleep and then followed her into the forest. They saw her walk into a hidden path that led to a cave. Inside the cave, Tabo and Sifo saw a glowing pool of water. They watched in awe as Nandi performed a ritual at the pool, dipping her hands into the water and chanting softly. Tabo and Sifo watched closely as Nandi became much more younger than she was even before going into the cave. They confronted Nandi the next day. Tabo asked her directly about the secret of her youth. Nandi, I know your secret now. That glowing pool at that cave is what has been keeping you young all these years. I know your secrets. Nandi, now realizing she had been discovered, decided to tell them the truth. Nandi explained that the glowing pool was a magical spring she got from a magician years ago. And she begged Tabo to please not disclose her secret to anyone, because if anyone else discovered it, She would lose her youthfulness and become very old and then disappear. She wasn't ready to be old yet. Dear viewer, do you think Nandi is greedy? How can someone that has been living for 80 years that looks 30 still isn't ready to look old? Well, let's keep listening to this story. Nandi desperately begged Tabo and Sifo not to expose her secrets. Tabo, please, if you tell anyone, I will become old and die, she pleaded. Tabo and Sifo promised to keep her secrets, feeling the weight of the responsibility. Besides, they don't want to be the reason for someone's death. And so, they decided to keep Nandi's secrets to themselves. And Nandi continued to be the most youngest and beautiful in the village of Unzanzi. But guess what? Tragedy is about to happen. Let's find out what happened. One day, the village chief's wife walked up to the chief and said, "My husband, I really want to find out the secret to Nandi's ever young, beautiful body. I also want to look ever young. You are the chief of this village. You should be able to do something. If you don't do something to find out that secret, I'm going to leave this marriage. How can you be a chief and you don't know the secret to your subject's ever young body?" The chief, who wasn't ready to lose his dear wife, decided to place a huge reward for anyone who could reveal why Nandi never grew old. The reward was a large sum of money that could change Tabo's life. Tabo heard of this reward, but he was torn between his promise to Nandi and the temptation of the reward. He knew the money could help his family, but he also knew the consequences of exposing Nandi's secrets. The thought of the reward kept nagging at Tabo. He thought about all the things he could do for his family and for himself with that money. The temptation became too strong to resist. Tabo decided to betray Nandi. He went to Chief and told him everything about the glowing spring at the cave where Nandi's secret was. The chief was astonished and immediately announced the discovery to the villagers. The villagers rushed to the forest and found the hidden cave. They saw the glowing pool and realized the truth about Nandi's youth. Nandi stood there by the pool, looking heartbroken. As the villagers watched, Nandi turned into an old woman and began to melt into thin air. She gave Tabo a sad look and shouted, "I trusted you." Then she disappeared, leaving nothing behind but the glowing pool. The chief's wife, who also wanted to be ever young, tried to get close to the pool just so she can remain young, just like Nandi. But before she got there, the glowing pool dried up because the original owner, Nandi, was no longer available to use it. The magic could not pass on to anybody else except for Nandi. The villagers were shocked by Nandi's disappearance. They then regretted their curiosity and greed. After the magical spring dried up, it lost its power forever. Tabo was left feeling guilty and ashamed, and he refused to collect the money the chief had promised to give to anyone who could expose Nandi's secrets. And he lived with that guilt for the rest of his life. But dear viewer, I want to ask, do you think Tabo was right or wrong for exposing Nandi's secrets? If you come across an offer like that of Nandi's magical glowing stream, or something else that could keep you ever young without getting old, dear viewer, would you take it? Thank you so much for listening to this story. Well, the moral of the story is that curiosity and greed can lead to betrayal and loss. Trust is precious and breaking it can have dire consequences. Tabo learned that the value of a promise is greater than any reward, and the price of betrayal is often too high to bear. Secondly, nothing actually lasts forever. Nandi thought she would remain forever young, thinking no one would ever discover her secrets. But unfortunately, Tabo discovered her secrets and she went into thin air because she actually cannot remain forever young. Thank you so much for watching this story. I hope you were entertained. My name is Onyi of Onyi Stories and Folktales, and please, if you haven't subscribed, support my growth and click on that subscribe button. Please turn on the notifications so when I post more interesting stories, you will get to see them. Thank you so much. I do not take your time for granted. See you in my next video. Bye-bye.